Hey everyone, and welcome to today's Explainer. I am absolutely thrilled to have you here because we are about to dive into something that is quite literally changing the way our world works. We're going to embark on this fascinating journey exploring the future of how we find answers. We are living through a massive technological earthquake right now. And the way you interact with the internet, well, it's changing faster than it has in decades. So let's get right into it. So think about this. How will you find answers in 2030? Seriously, imagine yourself a few years from now. For your entire life, the answer to, a really tough homework question or just some random late night curiosity has always been exactly the same. Just Google it. But guys, that era, it's kind of ending. We are in the middle of this massive technological shift right now. We're moving away from just searching for information to actually generating it on the fly. And honestly, understanding this shift before everyone else does is going to be your absolute superpower. Okay, let's dive into this. Section 1, the quest for answers, a brief history of finding things out. To really grasp how wild this shift is, we need to take a quick journey back in time. And this might seem a little crazy since you've probably never known a world without Google, but stick with me. Back in the 1990s, if you had a history assignment, you couldn't just pull out a phone. No way. You had to physically open these massive, incredibly heavy books called encyclopedias. Then, around 1995, the early internet arrived. But honestly, it was a total mess. Finding a genuinely good, reliable website was like looking for a needle in a digital haystack. Then, in 1998, everything changed. Google arrived. It organized the entire web, and it essentially became the undisputed king of information for over 20 years. Fast forward to late 2022, and boom, the modern AI era begins, and it is flipping the table all over again. Section 2. How Google Search Works. The ultimate librarian. So how does the king actually work? Well, Google essentially does three things at lightning speed. First is crawling. Google sends out these little automated bots, they're often called spiders, to just constantly read and discover new websites all across the internet. Second is indexing. That's taking all those billions of websites and organizing them into this massive, searchable digital catalog. And finally, ranking. When you type in a question, Google uses some incredibly complex math to show you the most helpful, reliable results first. So the crucial point is that Google doesn't write the answers for you. It's a directory. It simply points you to the best sources that were created by other humans. Which brings us to Section 3. Enter ChatGPT, the AI shift from finding to generating. Guys, here is the absolute core of this entire revolution. For your whole life, the internet has been all about finding. You type a search, you get a list of blue links, you click one, and you read. But ChatGPT, it shifts the internet to generating. You don't get a list of links to go read yourself. The AI actually creates a brand new, totally custom written answer just for you, right there on the spot. It is a completely new way of interacting with digital information. It's huge. But how does it actually do that? Like, behind the scenes, it's not magic, right? It's just math. First, it processes your prompt. It breaks down your words to really understand the context of what you're asking. Then it predicts the next word. Because it has practically read a massive chunk of the entire internet, it knows which words naturally follow other words. Finally, it generates the response. And this brilliantly illustrates the magic of AI. It is literally crafting its response to you word by word, just guessing the most logical next piece of text based on its vast training data. Think of it like the autocomplete on your phone, but just, a million times more powerful. Section 4. Search engines versus AI, the core difference. I always like to think of it like this. Google is a librarian. You walk up to the desk, you ask a question about the French Revolution, and the librarian hands you 5 excellent books. Great, right? But you still have to go sit down, actually read the books, and write your paper. ChatGPT, on the other hand, is the smart study buddy. This buddy has already read all of those books, synthesized all the information, and is now just explaining the French Revolution to you over a slice of pizza, summarizing exactly what you need to know in a totally custom way. Let's move to and see how this builds into real-world scenarios, because knowing exactly when to use which tool is going to be a critical skill for you. If you're stuck on a really annoying coding problem or you just need to brainstorm ideas for an English essay, your study buddy, ChatGPT, is absolutely the best tool because it generates that custom text. But what if you want to know the score of a basketball game that is happening literally right now? You need Google. Google is tied to real-time up-to-the-second updates. If you're buying a new pair of sneakers or trying to fact-check some wild claim you just saw on TikTok, you need Google to link you directly to the original source. But for quick, instant summaries of super complex topics, ChatGPT is definitely your go-to. Section 5: Strengths, Weaknesses, and Hallucinations. Navigating the Limits of Tech. Okay, listen up, because I need you to burn this definition into your brain. AI hallucinations. This is what happens when an artificial intelligence confidently generates false, invented, or misleading information. Remember a minute ago how we said AI predicts the next word? Well, sometimes it just guesses wrong. But because it is literally programmed to sound natural and authoritative, it will tell you something completely fake with total absolute confidence. If you use AI for a history paper and you don't double-check its facts, you might literally end up handing in an assignment filled with totally fictional historical events. Not good. But hey, traditional search has its own drawbacks too. Google's main limitation is that it puts the burden of work entirely on your shoulders. Sure, it gives you highly accurate links, but if you're researching a really complex science project, you have to open like 10 different tabs, read through a bunch of ads and pop-ups, find the relevant paragraphs yourself, and then combine all that information in your own head. It takes a ton of time and a lot of effort. Now contrast that with ChatGPT's flaws. While it totally saves you the effort of synthesizing all that text, it lacks perfect real-time internet access. If you ask it about a breaking news event that just happened an hour ago, it might get super confused or just rely on outdated training data. And like we just talked about, it can totally invent facts. The study buddy might be incredibly helpful most of the time, but sometimes that buddy is just completely making things up to sound smart. Section 6: The Future of Information. Why both tools matter. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is that the future isn't actually about choosing one tool over the other. People are absolutely flocking to AI right now, because getting that instant synthesis, it feels like a superpower. But Google remains utterly essential because at the end of the day, human beings will always need a solid foundation of verified, real-time truth. The future of the internet is actually going to be a blend of both. We're already seeing search engines seamlessly integrating AI summaries right at the top of their results, and we're seeing AI bots learning how to properly search the live web. The lines are totally blurring. Which brings us to our final thought for today. The internet has fundamentally, irreversibly evolved. We have officially transitioned from the era of searching for links to the era of generating knowledge. So the question I really want to leave you with is this. As the internet evolves from finding answers to generating them, how will you adapt? How are you going to use these tools responsibly, verify your facts, and leverage both the librarian and the smart study buddy to your absolute advantage? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep learning, keep questioning, and I'll catch you guys next time.